Aham Vyasaha Kavinam Ushna Kavi. Rushni Nam, of the descendants of Rushni. Vasudeva, Krishna in Dwarka. Asmi, I am. Pandavanam, of the Pandavas. Dhananjaya, Arjun. Muninam, of the sages. Api, also. Aham, I am. Vyasaha, Vyas. The compiler of all Vedic literature. Kavinam, of all great thinkers. Ushana, Kavihi, the thinker. Of the descendants of Krishna in Dwarka, I am of the Pandavas. Arjun, of the sages. Also I am. Vyasa, the compiler of all Vedic literature, of all great thinkers. Vushana, the thinker. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the sages, I am Vyas, and among great thinkers, I am Vushana. Purport. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Vasudev is the immediate expansion of Krishna. Both Lord Krishna and Baladev appears as the son of Vasudev. Amongst the son of Pandu, Arjuna is the famous and valiant. Indeed, he is the best of men and therefore represent Krishna. Among the Munis or learned men conversant in Vedic knowledge, Vyas is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for understanding of the common mass of people in this age of Kali. And Vyas is also known as an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, Vyas also represents Krishna. Kavis are those who are capable of thinking thoroughly on any subject matter. Among the Kavis, Ushna was the spiritual master of the demons. He was extremely intelligent, far-seeing, political, and spiritual in every way. Thus, Ushna is another representative of the opulence of Krishna. So, my realization from this particular verse is here Lord Krishna has, this is also the opulence, Lord's opulences. And Krishna, and through this verse, we get a reminder that Krishna reminds us that of the pervading nature of the divine and how it can be recognized in different aspects of creation. So we should see the sacred and divine in everything around us. So everything around us, everywhere the God is present. So that is deeper understanding. We should think that whatever is available in this spiritual world, material world, that is all everywhere we should see Krishna. Lord Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, reveals that He is the present in all beings and things. He identifies with specific individual like here in Vasudev, Arjun, Vyas, and Ushana to emphasize this presence in various forms. So here he got special connection with his devotees. Amongst the Vrishni dynasty, Vasudev, who is the father and the great devotees among the Pandavas, he chooses Arjuna because he's his dear friend and recipient of the Bhagavad Gita, as the significant representation. By identifying with here in like a Vyas, the great sage who compiled the Vedas and wrote Mahabharata. So through this Srila Prabhupada book, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, is all spiritual knowledge, the wisdom we get it through this book, and also we get the guidance from those books, enlightens the person who is reading such a sacred scriptures. Ushana, who is also the greatest thinker and preceptor of the demons. This Vrishni dynasty is a prominent lineage to which Lord Krishna belongs. Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has taken various incarnation, avatars, throughout the history to uphold the dharma and guide human beings for their spiritual upliftment. Also, I come across with one Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, verse 46, where Srila Prabhupada emphasized that Arjuna is always in confidence with Krishna because he is very dear friend. The Lord in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 39, it is stated that the Lord is eternally situated in hundreds and thousands of forms. And the main forms are those like Ram, Narasimha, Narayan. These are innumerable forms. But Arjuna knew that the Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, assuming his temporary universal form. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all other features originate from him. He is not different from his plenary expansion, and he is God in any of his innumerable forms. In all these forms, he is fresh like a young man, and that is the constant feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who knows Krishna becomes free at once from all contamination of the material world. Hare Krishna, this is my realization from this verse.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Sopan Prabhu, for your realizations. And thank you, Amrish Prabhu, Purna Pragna Devi Dasi Mataji, and Krishna Prabhu for your support and encouragement. So we're studying chapter 10, verse number 37 in Bhagavad Gita. Vishinam Vasudevo Asmi Pandavanam Dhananjaya Muninam Api Ham Vyasa Kavinam Ushana Kabhi. Translation: of the descendants of Vishnu, I am Vasudev, and of Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the sages, I am Vyas, and among great thinkers, I am Ushna. So there is a little difference in the purport of the Veda-based purport. So just stop where in the first few lines I would like to read quickly before I share my relations. So in this, it is written, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Baldeva is Krishna's immediate expansion. Both Lord Krishna and Baldeva appeared as sons of Vasudev, so both of them may be called Vasudev. From another point of view, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, all the forms of Krishna that appear elsewhere are his expansions. Vasudev is Krishna's immediate expansion, so Vasudev is not different from Krishna. It is to be understood that Vasudev referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita is Baladev or Balaram, because he is the original source of all incarnations, and thus he is the sole source of Vasudev. The immediate expansion of the Lord are called Swams, that is personal expansions, and there are also expansions called Vibhinans, that is separated expansions. So the purport is little different. I thought I must share this. And while I was preparing for this verse and my realizations, and I always look back that what made Krishna to speak about his opulences and why it is being spoken. So in this chapter, Arjuna has asked, actually after those seed verses, when actually Arjuna is praying to Lord Krishna, and he says this a couple of verses which I would like to refer. 10:16. Please tell me in detail of your divine powers by which you pervade all those worlds and abide in them. And next verse says, how should I meditate on you? In what various forms are you to be contemplated, O blessed Lord? Tell me again in detail, O Janardhan, Krishna, of your mighty potencies and glories, for I never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. So that is a request by Arjuna, and that's where Krishna is telling about opulences, and also in very briefly about his opulences. And so that's Arjuna's question. That's what I thought I must share. And in this opulence, which Krishna is talking about his Vrishni, descent of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva, of Pandava I am Arjuna, of the sage I am Vyas, and amongst great thinkers I am Ushna. And Ushna, in the purport, said the Sukracharya is the another representation of opulence of Krishna, who is actually Ushna. Among the Kavis, Ushna Sukracharya was the spiritual master of all the demons. He was an extremely intelligent and far-seeing politician. So Sukracharya, who was leading demons, is also an opulence of Lord Krishna. So that made me to study and find out more information, and there's a lot of information in Bhagavatam. And I thought how that is, means I just wanted to understand this opulence a bit more, but whatever I could understand, I will just share. And in chapter 9, sorry, in Canto 9, chapter 18, where we have heard Amrish was sharing the story about King Yayati and about Devyani and some and other girlfriend of Devyani, Sarmishtha. So I'm not going to talk about them, but Devyani was daughter of Shukracharya, and who was married to, and she was married to, there's a story behind it. She was married to Yayati, who was a Kshatriya and she was a Brahmana. But that is another side story. So while I was meditating on the opulence of Shukracharya, and there is a in this chapter there are two very interesting, controversial for a person who is not a devotee points which came up to, I thought I must share, because only a devotee can understand and see how Krishna is actually enjoying those things, and how Krishna is actually, how devotees are actually doing it. So in the same chapter, in verse number 40, the story is like this. King Ayati was very lusty and he wanted to enjoy the life. So he was requesting his sons, because he was cursed by spiritual master, cursed by Shukracharya to lose his youth and become old. And yes, again, there's a story behind it. So he was requesting his sons to give their youth to them so that he can enjoy life. And King Ayati was requesting his eldest son, and that is verse number 40. And the reply which is coming from his son, that is Yadu, and the other reply coming from Puru, who has a just two opposing replies, but very nicely Prabhupada explains that why it is this. And again, I saw that how Krishna's energy work and how Krishna is actually enjoying all those things. So in this verse, it says, Sri Yadur Uvacha Nota Sahe Jarasa Sthatum Antara Prapta Tava Avidvitva Sukham Gramyam Vaitrishanam Naiti Purushaha. Translation. Yadu replied, my dear father, you have already achieved old age. Although you also were a young man, but I do not welcome your old age and invalidity, for unless one enjoys material happiness, one cannot attain renunciation. So that is Yadu replying to his father when his father is requesting him. And when he is requesting to his youngest son, Puru, he says, Shri Puru Vacha Konu Loke Manushendra Pitur Atma Krita Puman Prati Kartum Kshamo Yasya Prasadat Vindate Param. Translation. Puru replied, O your majesty, who in this world can repay his debt to his father? By the mercy of one's father, one gets the human form of life, which can enable one to become an associate of the Supreme Lord. That is Puru accepting it. And in the next verse, Puru says, Uttamas chintitam kuryat prokta karitu madhyamaha adhamo asadhaya kuryat akartoksharitam pituhu. A son who acts by anticipating that what his father wants. A son who acts by anticipating what his father wants him to do is first class. One who acts upon receiving his father's order is second class. And one who executes his father's order irreverently is third class. But a son who refuses his father's order is like his father's stool. So that is Puru's reply. And Puru was son of Sarmistha and Yadu was son of Devyani. Now Prabhupada very nicely explains that why these answers were given and what is the background, which I would like to share because this is related to Shukracharya, who is actually Krishna's opulence. So I'm sharing this as Krishna's opulence. And as and I don't know how devotee means, that's what I'm trying to meditate, where Arjuna is requesting that tell me things so that how I can meditate on you. So this is beyond my capacity, but I thought I'll quickly share this. And Prabhupada very nicely explained this, and they're very relevant to us because we are all somehow trying to preach others, and we're trying to give them practical realization. And when I read this kind of things in Bhagavatam particularly, then if somebody has not understood this correctly, this knowledge can be very easily misunderstood. So this is very important that we study this scripture under guidance, not speculatively. And that's where I was meditating, and that's what I thought I must share this. So the reply which Yadu gave to his father, that he will not accept what he wants, and Prabhupada explains that in the purport, which probably is very important to us to understand. Because Bhagavatam says that one must follow his father's instruction, but at the same time, Yadu is not following instructions. So Maharaj Yadu was different from his brothers, as stated in the next verse. Actually, yes, Prabhupada is writing correct. There are other three sons also who said no to his father. As stated in the next verse, Turvasus Chodita Pitra Dhruyasu Chanuscha Bharata Pratyak Shakyur Adharma Jana Adharma Gyaha. Maharaj Yadu's brother refused to accept their father's proposal Maharaj Yadu refused their father's order. This was certainly irreligious. Maharaj Yadu's brothers refused to accept their father's proposal because they were not completely aware of dharma. To accept orders that follow religious principles, especially by orders of one's father, is very important. Therefore, when brothers of Maharaj Yadu refused their father's order, this was certainly irreligious. So Prabhupada is very clear that this is not right. Maharaj Yadu's refusal, however, was religious. As stated in the 10th canto, Yadoscha Dharmas Silaya, Maharaj Yadu was completely aware of the principles of religion. The ultimate principle of religion is to engage oneself in devotional service to the Lord. Maharaj Yadu was very eager to engage himself in the Lord's service. But there was an impediment. During youth, the material desire to enjoy the material sense is certainly present. And unless one fully satisfies these lusty desires in youth, there is a chance of one's being disturbed in rendering service to the Lord. We have actually seen that many sannyasis who accept sannyas prematurely, not having satisfied their material desires, all fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, the general process is to go through grihastha life and varnashram and vanprastha life, and finally come to sannyas and devote oneself completely to the service of the Lord. Maharaj Yadu was ready to accept his father's order and exchange youth for old age because he was confident that the youth taken by his father would be returned, which exactly happened to Puru later on. But because this exchange would delay his complete engagement in devotional service, he did not want to accept his father's old age, for he was eager to achieve freedom from disturbances. Moreover, among the descendants of Yadu would be Lord Krishna. Therefore, because Yadu was eager to see the Lord's appearance in his dynasty as soon as possible, Yadu refused to accept his father's proposal. This was not irreligious. However, because Yadu's proposal was to serve the Lord, because Yadu was a faithful servant of the Lord, Lord Krishna appeared in his dynasty. As confirmed in the prayers of Kunti, Yado Priya Syan Navaye Vaye. Yadu was very dear to Krishna, who was therefore eager to descend in Yadu's dynasty. In conclusion, Maharaj Yadu should not be considered adharma gya, ignorant of religious principles, as the next verse designates his brothers. He was like the four Sanakas, Chatuhusana, who refused the order of their father Brahma for the sake of the better cause. Because the four Kumaras wanted to engage themselves completely in the service of the Lord as brahmacharis, the refusal to obey their father's order was not irreligious. So that's where Prabhupada is explaining that why Yadu refused to accept his father's order in spite of knowing that he will get his youth back also. And then when Puru is actually accepting, and he's saying that whosoever doesn't accept his father's instruction is like a stool, which is very interesting, very small purport. So I'll quickly share that also. So the translation said, Puru replied, "Oh, your majesty, who in this world can repay his debt to his father? By the mercy of one's father, one gets the human form of life, which can enable one to become an associate of the Supreme Lord." And then in the purport, Prabhupada said, the father gives the seed of the body, and this seed gradually grows and develops until one ultimately attains the developed human body with consciousness higher than that of the animals. In the human body, one can be elevated to the higher planets, and furthermore, if one cultivates Krishna consciousness, one can return home back to Godhead. This important human body is obtained by the grace of the Father, and therefore everyone is indebted to his father. Of course, in other lives, one also gets a father and mother. Even cats and dogs have fathers and mothers. But in the human form of life, the father and mother can award their son the greatest benediction by teaching him to become a devotee. When one becomes a devotee, he achieves the greatest benediction because he completely avoids the repetition of birth and death. Therefore, the father who trains his child in Krishna consciousness is the most benevolent father in this world. So Prabhupada says, and our Guru Maharaj also says that one must follow their parents' instruction first. And but Prabhupada is giving replies to this, opposing my understanding, opposing views in the Bhagavatam, but only Prabhupada can explain like this. Otherwise, people like me get confused. And in the next verse, same background where Puru says, a son who acts by anticipating what his father wants him to do is first class. One who acts upon receiving his father's order is second class. One who executes his father's order irreverently is third class. But a son who refuses his father's order is like his father's stool. And very small purport, but Prabhupada explained very nicely. Puru, Yayati's last son, immediately accepted his father's proposal, for although he was the youngest, he was very qualified. Puru thought, I should have accepted my father's proposal before he asked, but I did not. Therefore, I am not a first-class son. I am a second class. But I do not wish to become the lowest type of son who is compared to his father's stool. One Indian poet has spoken of Putra and Mutra. Putra means son and Mutra means urine. Both a son and urine come from the same genitals. If a son is an obedient devotee of the Lord, he is called Putra or a real son. Otherwise, if he is not learned and is not a devotee, a son is nothing better than urine. So when I was preparing Shukracharya's, about Shukracharya and his opulences and his activities, so this is which come to my mind, my reading, and where I saw that how Krishna's opulences are actually manifested and written by devotees and realized by devotees. So that's how I wanted to share. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Sopan Prabhuji, and thank you, Avinash Krishna Prabhu, for your very nice realization. And thank you, Ambrish Prabhuji, Purnpagya Mataji, and Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji for giving us opportunity to share our realization and organizing this program as well. So this verse, Vrishninam Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjaya Muninam api aham Vyasaha Kavinam Ushana Kavi. So of the descendants of Vishnu, I am Vasudev, and of Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the sages, I am Vyas, and among great thinkers, I am Ushana. So Krishna is actually explaining his opulences, and he said that he will only explain the prominent one. So all these opulences spoken here, they are actually very important one, as also Avinash Prabhu also emphasized on that point. And I also realized there is quite a bit of a difference between the purport given in original Bhagavad Gita versus what is on the Veda base. So there is first paragraph is quite different, and it is they try to actually explain that point of Vasudeva. Whereas Srila Prabhupada also said that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Vasudeva is the immediate expansion of Krishna. So both Lord Krishna and Baldev appear as sons of Vasudeva. So actually I try to understand that point. So I was looking into Srimad Bhagavatam as well, and actually how the various expansions of Krishna they manifest, where actually it says that the first actually expansion is a Baladev, and from Baladev there is a Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And again from the Sankarshan there is Narayan, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And then it goes on to Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu and Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So from Baladev, all the actually opulences are actually they're actually coming, and Vasudev is actually direct expansion from the Baladev. So it represents, it is actually incarnation of Krishna. And that's why both, Prabhupada said both Baladev and Krishna, they're called Vasudev. Also, it is said that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So I remember this point actually. I think Amrishbu was also explaining that in the past, where he said that when Krishna was actually in Vrindavan, when he was small, there are various, very different demons actually. They came to kill Krishna, and all those demons were actually killed by Krishna. So that form of Krishna is not actually the original Shyam Sundar form. It was actually the Vasudev, who was doing all the killing. So I think that point actually, I think it is similar, what is mentioned here as well in the purport. So that is what I actually understood there. Also, where is here is saying that of the sages, I'm a Vyas. So I was also meditating on this point, and in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, where Krishna says that Sarvasya chaham ridisinni vishto matha smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarver aham eva vedo vedanta kridveda vidayeva cha. So vedescha sarver aham eva vedo. So Krishna says, I am the compiler of Vedas, and knower of all the Vedas, and from all the Vedas I am to be known. So Krishna confirms that actually he's the one who actually compiled Veda. And Vyasdev, we know that he's the actual compiler. So Vyasdev is the actually incarnation of Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam is mentioned as 17th incarnation. And also reading the actually story how actually Vyasdev was born from Parashar Muni and his wife Satyavati. And actually his purpose was to actually, when he was born, purpose was to actually divide the Vedas, into 4 different parts. So Rigved, Samved, Atharved, and Yajurved. And he also wrote Mahabharata, and also what is normally known as Fifth Vedas, various Puranas and histories. So he compiled all of those, and also there is a lot of information about how Vyasadeva actually compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, because after compiling all these Vedas, and dividing them for the understanding of a general mass of people who are less intelligent, so they can actually make use of that. So still he was very not satisfied, and how, actually when he tried to reflect, and later when he met his spiritual master Shri Narad Muni, and he chastised him that he did not actually directly glorified Lord Krishna and his incarnation, his pastimes, and various actually in Vedas where there are various recommended sacrifices and all that is only promoting the actually sense gratification, that people, they will not care for prohibition. So all those points, so all this actually, basically Vasudev, he's actually he's the incarnation, and thus represents Krishna himself. So that is actually I understood, and also it came into my reading where it's mentioned that actually Vasudev is not exactly the name of person, is actually the position. And in every millennium, actually the cycle of yugas, that position is actually occupied by Shaktivesh, avatar, or what is called as actually specially empowered soul. But in every so on actually Divya Yuga, that position is actually taken by Lord Narayan. So as an incarnation of Krishna. So yeah, so that again explains the importance of Vasudev there. He also says, among Pandavas, I am Arjun. So as we know, Arjun is a very dear friend and a devotee, pure devotee of Lord Krishna. And he's a direct recipient of Bhagavad Gita, as we know. And he's a direct disciple of Lord Krishna as well. So he's not an ordinary living entity, living being. Where Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, what is that? It's a chapter 2, verse 5, where it says that blessed Lord said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, oh subduer of enemy. So in the purport further, actually, Prabhupada gave very nice purport where he explained the position of Arjuna, where he said that Arjun is not ordinary devotee, he's an eternal associate of Lord Krishna. So everywhere Lord Krishna appeared in various incarnations, actually Arjuna also appeared as his associate to serve him in various different capacities. So it is also said that when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to sun god millions of years ago, Arjuna was also present there as well. However, he did not remember that incident, but Krishna remember everything. He says that actually, I remember everything, but you cannot. So that is a difference between living entity and Lord. Even they are both eternal. That actually the living entity can never be equal to the Lord. So yes, Arjuna is pure devotee. Is eternally liberated. Still, there is a difference between him and the Lord. As also Prabhupada says that Krishna, he always has his eternal form, full of knowledge and bliss. There is his Advait. There is no difference between his form and him. Whereas we, as living entity in this material world, we have a body and we are different as a spirit soul. So there is a difference. But that difference doesn't exist with Krishna. And even Krishna appears in this material world, still he's not affected by this material energy. He does not forget anything. So just Arjun is actually the importance of Arjun. He's not an ordinary devotee. He's an eternal associate. And Krishna says that among Pandavas, he's Arjun. So he also represents Arjun as well there. Yes, and on the last point here regarding Sukrachar, I think Avinash Prabhu explained very nicely. Actually, I didn't find much information on that. So thank you, Avinash Prabhu, for sharing that. So yes, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Dolly Mataji and Saraswati Mataji, please speak.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your organizing this program, and thank you so much, all the devotees, for.
Sorry, your voice is not clear. We can't hear anything. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Bol, right?
Is that okay now?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Rashni nam Vasudevo Ashmi Pandavanam Dhananjaya Muninam api aham Vyasah Kavinam Ushanam Kavih. So in this verse, how Krishna explained that is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Baldev is Krishna's immediate expansion. And both Krishna and Baldev appeared as son of Vasudev. So both of them may be called Vasudev. And from another point of view, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, all the forms of Krishna that appears elsewhere are his expansions. And Vasudev is Krishna's immediate expansion. So Vasudev is not different from Krishna. And so from this verse, I realized that Prabhuji, that Krishna has so many expansions, like even outside, like if Krishna by himself is in Vrindavan, but outside Vrindavan, and we as human beings, we are also the part and parcel of Krishna. And we are also part of Krishna's energy. But due to the contact with this material energies, we get contaminated and we can't overcome the influence of material energy on us. And as we all bound to do this material energy, so one who is unbound from this illusion can only help to realize that one who is bound can only help to release one who is bound, and therefore only the representative of Krishna can release the conditioned soul, and only devotional service in Krishna consciousness can help gain such release through disciplic succession. And by surrounding onto the lotus feet of Lord, we can force from clutches of material energy. So if we can understand Krishna's appearance, birth, and activities, we can be eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. And Krishna's birth, we all know that it was not like an ordinary human being. And although when the time was mature for Krishna appearance, it was such an auspicious time. But still Krishna has so many other expansions. And we can also, as human beings, can also try to purify, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. And there is this process, such a great process through which we can also try to purify ourselves from inside. And we can see ourselves that we are also part and parcel of Krishna, because it is not easy. It is not even possible for an ordinary human being to accept that we are part and parcel of Krishna unless we are in the process of purifying ourselves through the bhakti of Krishna. So yes, that is my realization, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Mama. Mama.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for your wonderful realizations. And looking at different points. Vasudev. What Krishna says at the essence of Vrishni, I am Vasudev. Of Pandavas, I am Arjuna. The sages I'm Vyas, and among great thinkers I'm Bhushan. So why Vyasadeva? Why Vasudeva? In the 72 edition, the purport Prabhupada mentions that both the sons, Krishna and Balaram, appear as the son of Vasudeva. So there is some significance here. Why did Prabhupada mention they both are the sons of Vasudeva? At the point where he mentioned that Vasudeva is the origin, an immediate expansion of Krishna. You see, the word Vasudeva, we will not discuss this in our realization today. I think we should focus a little bit on this point, that Vasudeva is the father of Krishna, and Vasudeva means son of Vasudeva. So Krishna is talking of many things in this when he says, I'm Vasudeva. Vasudeva is, yes, is the first expansion of Krishna in the quadruple expansion. And there is a reason why in the edited purport it is mentioned that Lord Balaram, who is Sankarshan, from him comes the quadruple expansion, which is correct. So there are many reasons why Krishna says, I'm Vasudeva. And we understand the technical part about why Vasudeva, being the first expansion of original expansion of Krishna. We should also spend a little time on Krishna as the son of Vasudeva. How many parents would see their children being killed in front of them and still keep bearing children, knowing that they'll be killed also? It is very painful for both Mother Devaki and for Vasudeva. And especially for Vasudeva, because he can stop this whole process. He's a seed-giving father. But King Vasudeva, he continued with his austerity and penance, with great anguish. It is also mentioned that Kamsa also then felt that Vasudeva is a man of good honor. He will come and give the children. Why am I killing him? Don't kill him. Take the child away. But again, demon that he was, he went back and killed them. So Krishna gives special significance to Vasudeva, his great devotee. And that is the reason why he is considered to be, he appears as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So he's also called Devaki Nandan, and he's also called Vasudeva. And here Krishna says of dynasty of Vishnu, I am Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. He mentioned that specifically. So there are both many angles to look at Krishna and why he says certain things and why he doesn't say certain things. But generally speaking, when Krishna speaks, he answers many questions. He looks at many angles. And a sincere devotee meditates upon these points and understands, why did my Lord say this and not that? What is the purpose behind it? This is the process of self-realization. It's a process of quiet contemplation. So among the opulences, he also gives opulence that he is the son of Vasudeva, of descendants of Vishnu. He obviously gives credit to Arjuna among the Pandavas. He did not, although Yudhishthira Maharaj were very pure, very stable, very honest, Dharmaraj, but he chose Arjuna. Arjuna was his best friend, and he chose Arjuna. And through Arjuna, to the whole mankind, he gave the message of Bhagavad Gita. And he declared through Arjuna only that my devotee never perishes. This is special significance of Arjuna. Yes, devotee spoke about Vyasa and Ushana. One has to understand a little bit of more information about Ushana too, because in the edited version it is mentioned Ushana is Shukracharya. And the previous one there is no mention. But probably it is Shukracharya only, because Shukracharya's mother name was Ushana. And Shukracharya's father is Bhrigu Muni, who was the son of Brahma. So technically the grandson of Brahma. So very important position. And very qualified also. In fact, he and Brihaspati went to the same guru to get knowledge. But then he left the guru. And then he took knowledge from another guru, etc. And Shukra meaning semen. That we must know. He was born of the semen of Lord Shiva. It's another thing. That's why it's called Shukracharya. Yeah. And these are opulences of Krishna. And these opulences help us to focus on why Krishna chose only that much. These opulences, and how would it benefit our devotional service. I think that much should be our focus, and that will help us in our work. Otherwise, these verses are very difficult to expand on. Yeah? So, it's natural for us to go a bit deeper, to find out a bit more, try to relate, to concentrate, which will help our chanting ultimately. Yeah. So I just thought I'll just plug this few gaps in this discussion. Thank you very much. Anyone wants to say anything, please feel free. Hare Krishna. Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. What synonyms, translations and purposes of Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Krishna God Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Amrish Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.